all-around good guy, Pat McMahon.
Inexpensive.
Very, very. And so we're going to be doing the show this week on behalf of Melinda being out of town. But before we start talking about things like past life regressions and channeling, I want to get some business out of the way and just say, here's things coming up for Melinda.
Let me do that.
Okay. My lovely Vanna, the 4 Pillars of Abundance will be coming to Sedona, Arizona with wonderful people like Melinda, Dr. Melanie Saran, Deborah Sagal, and Courtney Long, along with Melinda. Then in November, we've got Spirit, Melinda Vail and James Von Prague. And if you didn't see them last year, you don't want to miss them this year.
That was
Absolutely.
terrific.
It was great fun. And you're going to be part of it this year too, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess, because I understand that the fee that evening will be the same as this was.
I think so. Okay. But then again, if you want to just stay over, right after that, she's going to be going on a cruise to the Caribbean. So you can go on a cruise with Melinda, and there'd be readings and lots of fun. And if you haven't been to this area, someplace you should go.
You know, if you want to find out about spirits and your destiny and all of the things that Melinda Vail is known for providing you, what better place than a cruise? I mean, you're on your way to the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
All of those magic beaches, all of that marvelous part of the world, and Melinda Vail, and you're there.
Do they go through the Bermuda Triangle, though?
You know what? If you want to, I will bet you that Melinda probably can arrange it
Okay.
with the captain.
Okay. Well, anyhow, we're here to talk to you this week about something that's near and dear to my heart, hopefully yours, but it's doing hypnosis, because I do hypnosis an awful lot, and I do past life regressions. And so we're going to talk about past life regressions and channeling, because channeling had been something that had gone on from Ramtha from the late 70s, early 80s, and still today with channeling Jeshua, and still a lot of channeling going on. Where does channeling come from?
Well, and who are those people?
Yeah.
Ramtha and Jeshua, are those channeling people, spirits?
Well, they're channeling the spirit of Ramtha and the spirit of Jeshua. Jeshua is Jeshua ben Joseph, who otherwise known as Jesus, and this is a wonderful lady she's in the Netherlands who brings him through and has done amazing writings based off of what he has said, and pretty general in terms of what's going on today, and telling people to get back into both their male and female energies, that we need to have both of them in order to be able to live a very, very happy and supportive life, and quit getting to where that you're so combative with each sex.
You know, I'm the new guy here.
I've heard of you.
And so many times at home, and so many times when I come visit you in the office, I have to ask you, what does this mean? What does that mean? Am I right that the channeler is like a travel guide?
Well, the channeler is more like a conduit. Let's just say channeler is the cell phone. And what comes into the one end, it hears and speaks out to the channeler itself. So that's the best way to say it. Whatever energy it happens to be, whether it's Jeshua, whether it's Ramtha, whether it's, Maury, doesn't really matter.
Maury the channeler.
Maury the channeler. He's a good guy, back east, comes through and says a lot of really wonderful things about delis.
Be good to your mother.
Okay, yeah. Delis. So you look at what channeling is. Now, the question that I always get is, well, how do you know they're channeling somebody? What are they hearing? And the reality is that it doesn't matter. If the message resonates with you, if it says something to you on a visceral level, then it has meaning. We all get messages. We actually are all channelers. You channel, I channel. We do it on a daily basis. It's that little inkling of intuition. It's that little inkling of, oh, I know, let's do this. In a way, that's the same thing as channeling. It's our higher self speaking to us.
See, you are my authority when it comes.
Oh God, he's in trouble.
to this field. I believe it was one of the vows.
Yes.
When we got married. I'm the broadcaster who gets to say, and we're accepting phone calls. Yes, you angels get a chance to call in and tell me why it is that I seem to be a dunce about the world of channeling, and why did Duffy ask me to be her guest.
Yeah, and
875-0444, that's 602, is that right? 602-875-0444, and for the entire hour, you get a chance to call in, not just about these subjects, but anything that interests you, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. We do a little bit of everything here. If Pat can tell you about video, and he can tell you about broadcasting. I can talk to you about sex, and I can talk to you about hypnosis and channeling and so forth.
I'm the guest.
And Pat's the guest.
Okay.
But
So hypnosis.
Let's go back to hypnosis. Hypnosis, has been around since the beginning of time. We all can be hypnotized. Everybody says, no, I can't be, no, I can't be.
I just heard that. The lady in Avondale just said, I heard her from all the way over here in our studios, I can't be hypnotized. They've tried it, and it doesn't work.
Yes, because it may not work on a certain person. Not that they can't be hypnotized, but they won't allow it. There's so much going on with them then that they block off everything in regard to who that they are, because they're so afraid of unconscious messages, or it might bring up some hurt or some pain from the past that they have kept hidden. But we do it on a daily basis. Daydreaming is a part of hypnosis. Whenever you just go into any type of mood where you are basically altering your consciousness, that's a form of hypnosis.
But what do you think about in the movies when they were moving the watch back and forth? Is that phony?
No, it's not phony. It's a way to focus. If you can't do it by breathing and relaxing your whole body, then you just go ahead and have them do anything that causes them a rhythmic movement or sound. When you ask somebody to take a deep breath and feel your body relaxing, it's the same type of thing. You can tell them to relax by watching this watch fob or whatever it happens to be going back and forth. It basically puts your brain into a position of where it is focused on a particular item, so you can relax more. You want to clear out the garbage around you.
Who was Mesmer?
You're in big trouble.
Well, no, I assumed that you knew because you know everything about this.
Well, Mesmer, believe it or not, was a scientist. Okay? He didn't do hypnosis, by the way.
But that's what they called hypnosis, mesmerizing, right?
They did. Mesmer had an ability. He studied how to be able to work with energies. He had invented a concoction. He had people sit around this large vat that had a fluid in it, and in the fluids, okay, Jane, I'll be with you in just a second. But anyhow, he had this fluid, and then people would sit around the vat, and they would hold on to what was probably a copper tube, and they would relax. Well, something between whatever the fluid was, going up to the copper tube, caused an electrical kind of a stimulus, where they would relax, they get this electrical stimulus, they would go into all kinds of things, including they'd have orgasms.
Irish people call that Jameson's.
That works too. So, we're going to talk to Jane. So.
Oh, good. We've got a call.
I got a call.
At 602-875-0444. And it's one of our angels, named Jane.
Jane, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Let me just turn my speakers off here since I'm not waiting on hold anymore.
Okay.
And I'm probably a little bit behind here because for some reason I'm having trouble getting the feed. I'm sure it's my computer with my huge speed. Anyway, I want to say it's so wonderful having both of you on tonight.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, don't I look fabulous?
You're wonderful. You're really looking good, Jane.
Thank you. And how much I so enjoyed, I guess 2 weeks ago maybe, or whenever it was, when you were on with, was it Life After Life, or
yes,
Life Between Life?
Life Between Life, talking about your souls. Mhm.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, what's so interesting? It's like, okay, so I went right to your website and I'm like, where's more information
Oh,
on
I
this?
haven't put it on my website yet because I'm still working on that. So no,
I noticed
I,
that.
I will tell you the aspect of souls is a number of things, a number of books that have been written by, one is by Dr. Michael Newton is one, and then another, Robert Schwartz has written a number of books on life between life, which is your soul and spirit realm, and what happens after you pass away and you go into there, and where your Akashic records are kept, and where your soul families are together, and but they have done amazing documentation of hypnosis that they did for, since the early 70s. Michael Newton started it in the late 60s, early 70s, when it first came to his attention that there was a soul spirit realm, and he was stunned because he was just not the type of doctor. He was a very professional stage psychologist that was an Ericksonian gestaltist in a way, and thought that anything outside of the realm of regular psychology was all bunk. And so when this came up and he started doing this, he tape recorded every session for over 20 years before he ever wrote a book about it. But a very fascinating person. So, and he said the interesting part of it was that the similarities in everybody's stories was so amazing.
Hey, Jane, hi, this is Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Do you have a question for Duffy about this subject that you're interested in?
Yes, I do, because, okay, so I understand the books and everything.
Mhm.
What do you actually do with it? So let's just pretend I'm in your office
Okay.
and I have a point with you. What would that look like?
Oh, Jane, if you're in my office, first of all, you're probably coming for one of a number of reasons. One, because I'm a sexologist, so to deal with something that way, or that you just wanted to do hypnosis and you want to do a past life or a life between life regression. In which case, we would talk to you about what it was that you're wanting. There's a number of steps to it. One, making sure that you've had past life regressions before so you can see what it was like. And then two, what questions that you have, how do you feel about it? So we would talk about what is it that you want to get out of the hypnosis, what are you looking for, before we would ever start to do the hypnotic sessions. Now, the life between life is about 3.5 hours. So it's not a fast 1 hour hypnosis session, because it takes time to get you to where you need to be, and to get you to where you are with your spirit guides, and being able to recognize and talk about what's going on. And this is also recorded and given to you, so that would be what it would look
So I
like.
don't have to remember everything. So,
No,
okay,
and I
so
will tell you
let's
the
just
interesting
say-
thing is that you will remember a lot, but no, there's no way you're going to remember all 3 hours of it, because there's too much going on. And the other part is that whenever you do it, you will also say, was I making this stuff up? Because of your conscious mind is not going to be basically null and void. It's going to be aware of kind of what's going on, but it can't interject anything. So you're listening to this, wondering where this stuff is coming from. And when the first time I ever did it, I asked my my hypnotist, saying, I don't understand all of this because this is how I'm feeling. And I said, how do I know I was hypnotized? Now, I've done hypnosis for 20 plus years. How did I know that? And she says, have you ever been able to lay down totally flat on your back and still for 3.5 hours? Nope. I can't even sit still for 3.5 hours. So, yeah. So that was kind of one, she says that's one of the ways that you'll know, is because you stay pretty much still, you don't move around, and you're just in the time period. So,
Wow.
so that's
okay,
so that's what it would look like.
You're doing this because you've read many books, you're intuitive, all of the above.
Well, I'm basically where Melinda is a psychic. I'm an empath, intuitive, sensitive person, always have been. So I'm able to read people and energies. And I got into doing this mainly because my background was in stress, anger, and anxiety. And going and dealing with people in stress, anger, and anxiety, I started running into more aspects of people being very unhappy with their relationships and sex lives. So I went back and got my PhD in sexology, and so that's one of the other things I do. So I use past lives and I use regression in a number of ways. One is to help people with issues within their own body and problems that they are having that they can't tend to identify with. And also, we do bring aspects of past lives into this life. So that's why I got started in this.
Jane, listen,
Okay.
do you have another
Go ahead.
question? Because I have one coming up, and I want you to ask yours first.
Oh, okay. So let's just say, so I don't feel, of course, anyway, I don't feel like I have like this huge thing I need to conquer, but I would love to bring the wisdom from the past lives
Mm.
into knowledge and to awareness now.
Okay. Well, first of all, don't always assume it's going to be wisdom in a past life. That's number one. Our past lives are both good and bad. We, as humans or as souls, we go through multitudes of past lives.
You mean people were stupid in the old days, too?
Oh gosh, yes. No, we we have been through our souls are part of the learning aspect for the souls to be able to move on, to be able to accelerate, is that they learn the lessons being on this particular planet, and from what they say, other planets too. But so you may have been a perpetrator in one life and a victim in another life, and something else, in perfectly easy life in other times. So all of your lives are going to be different, but it's going to have aspects of every fallible emotion that humans have.
So can I ask you just to go in and tap into my life on other planes of existence and other planets?
Well, so what happens whenever you go back to wherever you want to go, whenever you go back into a past life, I take you back to the opening. Let's just say I take you back throughout this life into being in vitro, going through another kind of life. And you decide, your subconscious takes you where it wants to go. So
Okay.
what I would then do is just ask you again to start looking around. What do you see as you're going? It may not be clear at first. It may be awfully bright and fuzzy, but then it just takes you a little bit of time to start to recognize. You look down at your feet, you see whatever. So depending on where you happen to go. So you will, your subconscious or your superconscious will kind of take you back to things that you want to look at.
Hey, Jane, listen, if I promise that I'm going to ask Duffy to put all that information that you're waiting for on her website, then can I ask my question next?
Yes, you can.
Thank you, my dear. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you, Jane. For
I only need another 20 minutes. No, I'm kidding. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And by the way, that means that there's a line open for you at 602-875-0444. But I get to ask you this.
And I can answer.
Well, long before you were ever around, because I married a child. Long before you were around, 1952, a book came out. It was the first time that I ever was aware of hypnosis regressively, the idea of retrogressing back to a time before you were born. I don't know how many people had ever experimented with that before, but it was the first time I'd ever heard about it. It was a 1952 book called The Search for Bridie Murphy. And it was a huge bestseller. I wrote the name of the author down. It's Maury Bernstein. And Maury Bernstein was a guy in Colorado, and he was a kind of amateur hypnotist. I mean, he didn't have the background that you do.
No.
He was just kind of playing around with hypnotism, and he hypnotized this lady named Virginia Tighe, whose real name was Ruth Simmons. And he said experimentally he would take her back, as many people had, to her birth,
Right.
to try to solve problems, some of the pain, some of the difficulties. And he said, well, what would happen if I took her back before her birth? And he did. And suddenly, she says she's an Irish woman from the 1800s named Bridie Murphy.
Yep.
And I'm sure that probably some of you who at least date back, as I do, to 1952, remember the search for Bridie Murphy, because it was in every news magazine. There were 2 movies made. And Bridie Murphy was supposedly this Irish woman who had a life in Cork and in Belfast, and she talked about some of the landscape, some of the buildings, some of the people, and some of the things, Duffy, they went back and researched, and it didn't seem to play out authentically. But some of the things that Ruth Simmons couldn't possibly have known did. The name of the grocer, she had the right name, the grocer in that little village. She had the right name for this person, the right area that she was identifying.
We're seeing more and more and more of the aspect of proof of life, past lives. And you see it all the time. There is another lady from Sweden who actually was Anne Frank, of all people. You always think somebody's going to be famous, but from the time she was 2 years old, she would tell her mother her name was Anne. And finally, when she met her cousin, it was love, they had known each other forever. So that when Newton first got involved in it, Dr. Newton, he was trying to get rid of pain, and asked the patient, when was the first time you'd ever experienced this pain? Well, they went into a past life where they'd been run over by a carriage. So that's how this started coming back, and it's really only been the last 50 years, pretty much, that people even talked about past lives. So I'm gonna talk to Debbie and see what she wants to know. So, am I okay?
This is it. Technically, it's being transferred from one hemisphere to another.
Debbie?
Hi, how are you guys?
Fine. how
Hi,
are you?
Debbie.
I am so glad that you guys took over the show tonight while she's gone.
Thank you. Thank you. We are too.
I find the topic to be so interesting. It's something I've read so much about, tried to learn so much about, and to have another perspective on it is incredible.
Oh, to me, the more perspectives you can get, the better. Because I still have people that will say, "Oh, well, no, that's doesn't happen. That's not real. Whatever it happens to be." But I also have done a lot of dream analysis, and that's the other part where your soul group will come in and come to you in your dreams too. So I figure, okay, I'm not gonna fight it.
Right. I guess that's where my question would come in. Is there any person that cannot do this? Are there people that are not open to it?
Oh yes, there are people that are not open to it. Yeah.
And I'll take to, like, if somebody came to you and they were open to it, is there a person that, like, would not be able to go through it?
Hypnosis, you mean?
Hypnosis in particular?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not if they're open to it, then there's not a person that I've ever run into that cannot be hypnotized. What happens is if you have somebody that is so afraid of it that they cannot relax. But I've only run into maybe 2 people, And that is because they've had so much fear and guilt and different things going on in their life that they couldn't release that. They couldn't get by that.
Debbie, have you ever been hypnotized?
No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Are you interested in it?
I had a hard time learning to meditate.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people that said, it's about, I learn it's quiet in the mind. It's like, no, my mind does not go quiet. But you know what? I mastered it, and I got there. So that's why you're in a different frame of mind.
Yeah.
That's why hypnosis I was always intrigued by it.
Well, the thing with meditating is quiet in your mind, which is a lot of people can't do, including I have a tough time. I use light and sound glasses to help me quiet my mind, to bring my brain waves down, because that's one of the things I've used for a long time. But just because of who we are and all of the energy around us and all of the incredible noises that go on, it's very hard to quiet your mind in order to meditate. But meditating is just that. It's being quiet and allowing yourself to relax into a deep state of meditative relaxation and allowing your body to open up. If you can do that, you can be hypnotized.
Okay. So if you did a past life regression,
Mm-hmm.
say I was to come in and you were to do a past life regression,
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be people involved in a past life. Would I would probably recognize them on a soul level, maybe not so much.
What goes on, I'll tell you, this is from my experience, okay, because that's the only one I can go by, is that in past lives and so forth that I've been, I will be with a husband or with a sister or whatever, including Melinda was my mother in a past life. And what it was, and this was an African tribe, so it didn't exactly look like Melinda, because between Melinda and I, we were great poster kids for Caucasian awareness. But this was the community, the village that we lived in. But it was a matter when I looked into her eyes, and that's what I'm saying. Well, you look into the eyes. Does this person, speak to you? Is it somebody that you recognize? Well, that's exactly what it was. As soon as when I looked into her eyes, that's who it was.
So you knew instantly it was her.
So they say that the eyes is the mirror to the soul. In a way, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. So including Pat's been my sister in a previous life. I've had a number of different husbands, including Pat. But so as you go through, you say, who was it like? And before I did my life between lives, I went back to, I think I died of influenza in the 1917, but my grandmother happened to be my sister. Yes, it was weird, because it kind of threw me. She asked, who do I recognize my grandmother? Well, yeah, it's my sister.
So do you always, though, in that field, excuse me, Debbie, but that brings up a question that I think might be of interest to the audience, and I hope you. Do you always find yourself surrounded by familiar people, or are you sometimes faced with total strangers?
You're sometimes faced with total strangers, but there are a number of people within your soul group that you will reincarnate with many, many times. So your soul group is bigger than you think, but people come into your life because they play a part within the theme that you wanted this life to be, and so they may only be there for a day and a half to give you some sort of a message or to show you something or whatever, and but they're either souls in a soul group nearby, or in your own soul group, or in your family group, or however you want it to be. So, but no, not in every life do you ever see them. In fact, there was one of the stories in Dr. Newton's book about a woman that was just so absolutely depressed, and she kept on saying, I just want to go home to my family. I want to go home to my family. Well, when he finally put her under, he realized that nobody on this planet was part of her whole soul group anymore, and she just wanted to go back home to her soul group. So
I was going to ask if it ever happens.
Yeah. So yeah, it does.
Because there are people that just seem like they're so alone in this world, but yet some people are so connected to people that you see that, and you see people that have like nobody right now, or haven't had anybody over a long stretch of time.
Well,
Why?
that
I was just curious.
may or may not be true. It also depends on what life plan that they are here to fulfill. So it may be that during this life plan that they wanted to be more solitary and by themselves to learn whatever lessons that they wanted to learn. I will tell you the biggest problem I had was on the fact that we have input on our lives. And so that means if whatever trauma that we have gone through, good or bad, these are things that we have looked at prior to incarnating in this human body.
Debbie, when I knew that I was going to be Duffy's guest tonight, I did a little research in this particular arena, and I've done a number of interviews on the radio shows that I do and the television shows, but I did find for the first time that among the people that are most familiar to all of us who believed passionately in past life contacts and regression have been Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and General Patton. General Patton felt that he was a military leader back in Roman days.
Yeah. Well, actually, he went back as far as Alexander the Great. He believed he was in Alexander's army and so forth.
Wow.
And so did Einstein. And there's a lot of people that believed in a past life and felt that they felt that they get messages, whenever they're in a relaxed state. Einstein was always one that said, whatever came to him always came to him after he was almost in his sleep, where the theories would come to him, and he would wake up and he'd write them all down. And I can understand that because when I was going to school, I wrote almost every one of my papers in a dream state, and then got up and put it down. So.
Hey, Debbie, thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, thank you so much for your help. And I too always had a problem thinking, when life gets a little tough, I used to think, what was I thinking over there that I made it this tough? Because free will does play a role, and
that's the whole thing.
But the way I look at it now is, well, I just wanted to progress a lot faster than the rest, I guess. Just shoot to that class.
Well, thank you, Debbie, for calling.
Good for you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shall we remind everybody how they can get through?
They can get through by dialing 602-875-0444.
Interesting calls.
Debbie said something
Yeah.
about free will, and this, when it comes to
I'm
past
glad you
lives, you
said
have to
that,
think
yes.
about it, because yes, they talk about our soul, our soul planning for this, coming into this particular incarnation, and we do plan some of the things that may or may not happen. But when I say may or may not happen, may or may not happen because there is free will. We can turn different directions, and it does happen. So.
I was just going to ask you if you would share the story. It was a very specific example of what you're talking about, that even among skeptics,
Mm-hmm.
they would have a hard time discounting the story of the child and the airplane.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was a 16 Minutes vignette that they had done about a young boy. I guess when he first started out, he was 3 or 4 years old, and he had this amazing affinity for airplanes. Not just any airplanes, World War II aircraft carrier airplanes.
Yeah, not just toys
no.
for 3 or 4 year olds.
And then all of a sudden, for a particular type of plane and a name on a plane that he started giving out. So throughout this time, his parents really were kind of help him out with this and would take him to World War II museums and things like that. Well, at one time that he had done that, he recognized the ship that he'd been on, recognized the plane, gave him his name and the name of his best friend who is still alive. They eventually got together. But it was an amazing story.
He was able to actually name the crew members
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On a particular plane. And there was no way he could have studied that. He couldn't have gone back and researched it.
No, well, I think he was 6 or 7 years old when they took him back there. So, That would be very hard. So it's really hard, you know, people can be as skeptical as they want to be and, or as open as they want to be. It's really up to them. There is no right or wrong.
We've been talking about hypnotism and past life regression through hypnosis, but is that similar to near-death experience?
I don't think so. This is on a personal basis.
Well,
I've had a near-death experience. To me, the near-death experience, it was not a choice of, I mean, I was put under, so I was already kind of gone, not in a hypnosis state, but I was basically anesthetized whenever I left my body and was watching it. So I don't see it that much like hypnosis, except for the fact that you go into an altered state. The near-death experience for me was a matter of, it wasn't a matter of my conscious being aware of it so much as it was on a, I guess, an unconscious level. I was aware of everything going on and watching it. I was watching the whole surgery happening. But I had no feeling about it one way or the other. It was as if I was watching it without any thought or wonderment of whether I'm going to go back or not. I wasn't thinking, oh, I can't wait to get back, or no, I don't want to go back. But it was one of the most peaceful, serene, incredible, loving atmospheres that I was in.
But you didn't want to come back.
Well, no, I said after I got back, I wasn't thrilled about it. So obviously I wanted to come back, or I probably wouldn't have been, because they're not going to force you to go back if you don't want to be.
So you do think you have a choice?
Oh, I think on that type of a thing you do have a choice. I think that is why people that have near-death experiences come back, and some say, oh, it was wonderful. Others say, no, it wasn't. And, they realize that there's something else going on for them. And recognizing that they may not have all the answers is the tougher part. And that, as it was for me. My near-death experiences was in 1975, before Dr. Moody ever wrote about near-death experiences, and I thought I was nuts. And my doctors tried to validate that. So, no, that couldn't happen. No, you didn't do that. No, we weren't doing that. And yes, they were,
You didn't follow the rules.
I've never followed the rules anyhow, so. But anyhow, when I first came back and I told the doctor what was going on, he was a little shocked, and then composed himself and said, well, you must have still been awake. Well, no, I wasn't. I was flatlined. So I don't think I was really awake, or that I heard this. And everything that they were doing. But I did remember being very, very peaceful. And then when I came back, I wasn't really happy about it. So.
I remember the interview that I did, that I've told you about, with the father of the young boy about whom the book and the film, Heaven is Real, was created. And when I was doing the God Show on KTAR, we tried to have as believable guests as you could find.
Right.
I mean, we didn't just automatically say, well, that's an interesting story. Whether we believe it or not, let's have him on. This was an intriguing story, because the young man was in the hospital, had a serious medical condition, and found himself watching the procedure from above, and then hearing his parents in another room, in another part of the hospital, discussing what
if
they
you
would
haven't
do.
read the book, it really is a very good book. It's very interesting to read.
Yeah, and but I mean, it's quite believable, because he was describing a number of things, that couldn't possibly have happened if he happened to simply be anesthetized and consciously work. He was in another room and he was describing conversations that went on and some of the procedure.
Some people can do that without going into a near-death experience. You know, astral projection people can do on their own by going into deep meditative states and being.
When I've heard of that, can you consciously project yourself astrally somewhere else in the universe?
I think that you can, yes. I think you can. It's your consciousness, it's your energy. It's not you as the person.
See, my luck, I'd wind up in New Jersey. It's just, it's one of those
They've
things.
asked for you not to come, honey. So, but no. So
You mean Newark
Newark
doesn't
doesn't
want
want
me
me.
either? Oh my God, what have I done?
But no, but Indiana does. So
Maybe Camden.
maybe Camden. But with astral projection, people that I know that have been able to do that, remote viewing, the same type of thing.
What is that?
Remote viewing.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched the man who stared at goats or whatever it was,
I know
Yeah.
the movie you're
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
but it's really putting yourself in a position where you can go to someplace else and literally see what they look like. The military has used this off and on for years.
Mhm.
So there's quote unquote. But there's a gentleman named Ingo Swan that had done a lot of that with the military and was able to do a lot of astral projections, a lot of remote viewing, and be able to go into a safe somewhere in Denmark and look at whatever is written on the paper.
Wow. Wow, and that's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
But all right, now I'm going to ask you that which I've never asked you before.
I'm in trouble, guys.
Oh boy. No, on behalf of the audience, because I'm on your side as your husband,
Mm-hmm.
but when we're on the air, I'm on their side
Okay.
to make sure that they're well taken care of. We both know Melinda Vail
Very well, huh?
is legit,
Right.
and she has been acknowledged as one of the best in the field by so many professionals. But how do you protect yourself from the people who make claims that they're going to be able to take you to another realm, or that they're going to be able to take you to another past life? As many good people as there are out there, there are more phonies.
Yeah.
But how is it that we can protect the audience from just simply buying into sometimes very expensive claims?
Well, the audience, like, is to me, is buying anything, buying a new car, buying a house, whatever. You need to do your due diligence. So you need to find out, you need to check Melinda's websites, you need to check the websites, or check people who've been there, how do they feel about it?
Good.
You know, if it's hypnosis.
Reviews.
Hmm?
Reviews.
Reviews, yes. So,
Yeah.
you know, people that have come and done past lives, that have enjoyed it, you know, it's great. If they haven't, then that's, you know, want to know why, but that's okay. But you know, with psychics, clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever type of psychic abilities you have, everybody is different in their approach. Melinda's unlike anybody I've ever seen, and I know an awful lot of clairvoyance. She has material that comes to her, and you know, she's the first one to tell you we all have this ability. But we are so bogged down by every other bit of heavy, dense energy on this planet that we don't necessarily allow it. We get glimpses of it, but then we basically discard it because, oh, you know, I don't know where this thought came from. I don't know, you know, this doesn't mean anything. This is idiotic. Why am I thinking this? We second guess ourselves to the point of stopping ourselves from anything.
Creating personal skepticism?
Oh, you bet. You know.
That gets in the way, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because it's easier to be skeptical than to be open. And most people are. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. You talk about, this is the best pie. Somebody's gonna say, and who says? You know. Not my mom's, you know. Whatever it happens to be. There's always part of the human personality is skepticism. I don't know why, but it is. I can't
Well, I
explain
guess
why, but.
I guess there's a safety factor involved
Text from mom
with some
Oh,
of it.
basically, I got a text from Melinda.
says that you need to link to the
Okay,
National Guild.
what we're waiting for,
Huh?
National Guild of Hypnotists.
Oh, the National
So
Association.
yeah, so you,
the technical team of Izzy and McKenna
Okay, yeah.
are right now giving us messages.
Also, there is the National Guild of Hypnotists that you can look into. Check with them on people that belong to them, and there is the Arizona Society of Hypnotists, which is another one that you can check into.
Wait a minute. Who says so? Who is it that you got that message from?
Ms. Melinda,
Is she watching us?
I guess so. Yeah. So, hi, Melinda. But anyhow, so
We're having a good time. Oh, by the way, Melinda, wherever you are in the world, it's 172 degrees outside, and we decided to come and live in your office.
does that mean our air conditioner isn't working?
No, listen, if you don't mind, because you are the host of the show, but we only have, what do you think, about 10 minutes? Huh? Something like that?
13 minutes.
Okay, 13 minutes. McKenna draws the line very clearly. He says 13 minutes, not 10.
McKenna is in charge. So.
No, I would like to know, and there's no test involved here, but I would like to know if anybody in our vast audience, anywhere, because this is now worldwide, anywhere that has ever had any kind of regression to another life, a previous life regression. Have you ever had the experience of doing that under hypnosis, or have you ever had a near-death experience? I, as the amateur here, would love to know. And all you have to do is to call 602-875-0444. What's that number again, Pat? 602.
I love it when he talks to himself. It's like I don't need to be here.
875-0444. I just am fascinated by the subject, and I think sometimes people are hesitant to admit that they may have had an experience like that because people will think they're loonies.
Well, they're going to think they're loonies anyhow, but seriously, anytime you have something that is out of the quote-unquote societal norms, they think that you're loony, so it doesn't really matter what it happens to be.
Mom says, "I love you." It's 71 here.
Oh,
I'm sorry, pardon me, I missed part of that.
Mom said, hi,
Mom,
oh, excuse me, Melinda
yes?
says,
I love you. It's 71 here.
yeah.
Oh, we're getting a weather forecast either from one of the meteorologists on the local television channels or Melinda Vail, who tastelessly decided to move somewhere outside of Arizona for a short period of time. So I understand now.
How do you spell that? Sorry.
What a classy program this turned into, right?
But going back to what you were saying about, most people will think anybody that has a paranormal experience
Hello, Melinda
is,
Vail.
Isn't that sad?
yeah.
But isn't it sad that you can't be open?
Okay, let me put you on hold.
You can't be open about seeing a genuine, really
Yeah.
believable UFO or
Okay.
any of these experiences.
And you are made to feel absolutely alone. You're made to feel that you are crazy.
Doesn't it make you wonder how many things are not reported
Yeah.
because of that?
Melinda?
Yes.
Hi.
You guys are awesome and amazing. I'm watching you from a
Yeah.
beautiful restaurant here in San Diego where it is 71 degrees.
Oh,
I'm
God.
wearing a sweater.
Oh,
And you
okay,
guys
phone.
were watching you on the cell phone. You are amazing. And I have done
Mom
past
just
life
called, so I
regression
didn't-
Mhm.
where I have learned about karma
Mhm.
with an ex-husband.
Uh-huh.
And I went home and I hypnotized him.
to see if he would get the same thing as I did, and he got the exact same thing, only he named us different. I named us John and Mike, and he named us Joe and Ted or something. But the exact same information.
Yeah.
And is that why he's not around anymore? Because he didn't agree with you about the names?
Well, he died about 2 years ago.
Oh, well, that's an even better reason.
Oh, that's funny.
It was weird.
But he and I certainly finished up our karma before he left the planet, and it was a very interesting thing because we understood what our karma was together. And 16 years after I had divorced him, without speaking to him in 16 years, I got a hit on something, and I private messaged him on the Facebook, and we were able to communicate to each other our regrets about the marriage. And then about 6 months later, he had a heart attack and passed away young. He was only 65.
Wow.
But it was very interesting to see that we had certainly some soulmate energy because, you know, I knew that something was coming or I wouldn't have reached out to him, and we absolutely got the same thing.
Remind me never to marry
It was
you.
amazing.
Melinda, remind me never to marry you.
No.
The big question that I have for you that the audience is waiting for right now, this is it, stand by. The big question, what did you order in the restaurant? What are you eating now at 71 degrees in freaking San Diego?
Sitting on the patio,
Oh.
I had a steak and a mojito and a glass of wine.
Oh, geez, she's drunk.
Okay. All right. We're hanging up now.
All right, but I love you guys, and thank you for doing this. I know the angels are so happy with you guys, and boy, does it look sharp and crisp with the new camera.
Oh, the
I
new
love
camera's
you guys.
great.
I'll see you.
See you next
When,
week.
yeah, awesome. I'll see you when we get home.
Okay.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did she
Bye.
mention anything about sending the bill to San Diego?
No.
No? Okay. Who are we
Okay,
talking
We're
to?
gonna have Jane come. We have Jane coming up in just a second.
Okay, Jane. And we are, you know what? We're having a hot time,
Jane?
even though it's hot outside.
Hi.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just hearing the end of the story with Melinda. How funny. So I've had 2 experiences, one in each. And
Excuse me, Jane. Pardon me, dear.
Yeah.
Could you turn the audio down in the background so that that's not distracting? Okay.
Oh yeah, already on.
Okay,
It's just
good.
my glasses hit it when I.
Okay. So you've had two
so-
experiences.
I've had one NDE and one possibly 2. I think 1 regression, but maybe 2. So the near-death experience was kind of different than all of the ones that I've heard about. But basically, it was that same. It was a car accident in '78, and I was just floating so peacefully, so relaxed, above my body, seeing my body. I was slumped over the steering wheel, and just really like seeing it and just going, oh, how about that?
Yeah. No big
But
deal,
there was
huh?
just no attachment to it, exactly.
Mhm.
But peaceful, just so peaceful and relaxed. And then the other one was more recently when I had my, I had a rod in my leg. I had a broken leg in 3 places. And coming out of the anesthesia, I just remember them saying, breathe, wake up. And I was like, but it's so relaxing here. And
I don't want to do that.
yeah,
I
I didn't have like that thought, but I just remember again relaxed, and then it was like, then they said it again, breathe, and I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute, oh, come back, all right.
Yeah.
But yes, just very wonderful, but not lengthy like, you know, some of the ones that you hear about where it felt like it went on for days and weeks. I didn't have that experience.
Yeah, but the time, because their time is not the same, you know, throughout in the soul realm. It kind of just simultaneously. So, what we think seems like forever to them, to us, seems like forever to them is just a nanosecond. So time is kind of irrelevant in a number of ways.
Right.
But I understand. So you also had a past life regression?
I did.
And-
And it was funny because I'd never been hypnotized before.
Mhm.
And of course, it's kind of funny what Pat was saying with, you know, the watch back and forth. You
Mhm.
know, you are now you're a chicken. So,
Now, if they say
I've
you're a
never
chicken,
had
you're in big trouble.
you know, no, but you know how the comedy skits,
Oh, yeah,
you know, you're
right,
on
uh-huh.
a stage and they make you do these bizarre things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking hypnosis is, okay, you put me to sleep and then I'm going to do whatever things or say whatever, and I'm not going to remember it. It's
Oh.
going to be something like that. It was totally different. It was like, there was no watch in front of my face, and I'm hearing everything and remembering, and it was like I was there fully, but then there was something else kind of in the background coming forward through voice.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Very much so. Mm-hmm. And really, when it comes to hypnosis, that is it. Is that you're not going to? It's not going to be a matter of saying that you're only going to answer questions. You are going to remember, unless you can have suggestions that will say, you know, you will not remember any of this, in which case you won't. But that is down the road where the hypnotist may discuss with you beforehand things that you may not want to bring back with you because of pain, or for a number of reasons, but wants to be able to help you get through any of the transitions.
Jane, what
Okay.
what person did you manifest when you regressed to another period?
There were two different, which is why I'm thinking it was two separate times. One in Atlantis, and it was some type of healer, and we were going after my leg injury, and so we were trying to figure out like where that came from, that type of thing. The other one was like knights, King Arthur, medieval. That period of time, Renaissance, and went back there, and I can't remember what that might have been just a place I wanted to visit because I have such a strong connection, whereas the other one was for a specific reason.
Were you a female
So
in
I've
each
done
life?
kind of both.
Yeah, were you a female in each life?
No,
Okay,
I was male both lives.
okay.
Hey, Jane, thank you so much for calling. We've only got
You're
about a
welcome.
minute left. I thank you so much
Thank you, Jane.
for being good company
All
for
right,
us.
and
I
sign me up for one of those 3-hour guys.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, if you want to sign up for the 3-hour guys, I forgot my phone number. I wrote down, we'll put it on the website. I wrote down everybody's phone
that's
number
fine.
except for mine. How about that?
Or Jane, you could also sign up for an evening of spirit with
Thank you,
Melinda
Jane.
Vail and James Von Prague. Melinda did not ask us to do this, but I think it's so exciting to be able to visit with Melinda and James Von Prague on, wait just a second, hold on. I want to make sure,
17th and
November 17th and 18th, and then November 26th, you get to go on a 7-day Western Caribbean cruise in style with Melinda Vail. And what else?
Well, the biggie is that coming up before we go to see James or the cruise, we have the 4 Pillars of Abundance. This is going to be up in Sedona. So any of the things that you want to find out about, that you can go ahead and call the office here, which is 480-755-0222. Including if you want to get in touch with me, because Izzy knows how to get in touch with me.
And
So-
with me, you get 1 pillar, and that's about it. But I will
It's
tell
all
you,
salt,
I
yeah.
apologize to all of you folks who tuned in today watching a woman who is a PhD in sexology, and I chose to wear a hat that says "Play Dirty." It really was unintentional.
Oh,
I had
do
no
not, there's no
idea.
such thing as coincidence, remember?
Hey,
So-
thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you again. Again.